and gentlemen, please rise for the 190th Commencement Procession. please stand for our national anthem. Welcome home, and please be seated. The invocation will be given by our University chaplain, Craig Coker.
Please join me in a moment of silence as a means of offering our gratitude for this day and all those present or present in our hearts who have shared in the lives of these graduates. Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for the gift of this university, for the wisdom we have gained, the adventures we have had, and the friends we have made. Open our eyes to what we still have left to learn. May we see in every obstacle a new course of study, and in every disappointment a path to deeper gratitude. Open our hands to welcome each season of life as a means of learning and growth, and new friends and colleagues as teachers and companions on the way. And open our hearts to the vast wonders in store for us. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kevin Halleck, the new president of the University of Richmond. I'm delighted to welcome you, finally, to the graduation ceremony of the class of 2020. I've been president of the university for just over a month, and people have been asking me, how's it going? My response is often a lot like my response when people ask me about my marriage of 30 years. So far, so good. In all seriousness, I'm absolutely delighted to be president and with my marriage. I'm grateful and I feel lucky for both. I also feel grateful and lucky for this opportunity to thank and congratulate our graduates. I know our time at Richmond did not overlap, but I've heard a lot about your many, many accomplishments, and I'm so proud to be with you here today. I also want to thank the staff, the faculty, and most especially the families and friends of our graduates who've supported them for so long. I'm thrilled to celebrate this special occasion with you. Graduates, do me a favor. Think for a minute about who you are. You are not normal. You are extraordinary. You made it through a long college search and application process. You made it through the ups and downs of your rigorous Richmond academic studies. You finished your studies in a global pandemic, one we continue to endure. You've opened yourselves up, and you've made this moment. Take stock of that and be proud of it. We are proud of you. As you ride the next rounds of ups and downs in life's journeys, remember that you're extraordinary and forever part of the Spider community. The road ahead will have many opportunities and challenges, and sometimes your plans will take unexpected turns. As you've learned here at Richmond, the world is evolving, and the world and the labor market you are now entering is extremely unusual and unpredictable. But you are prepared, you are smart, you have a support system, and you're resilient. Since I began my academic career as a labor market economist, there have been remarkable changes in the labor market. Think about just the past few years. When you were in elementary and middle school, the financial crisis hit, and the labor market went into a tailspin. In January of 2010, the unemployment rate in the United States was 9.8%, and it had steadily declined from then until March 2020, when it reached an extremely low 3.5%. It hadn't been that low since I was born in 1969. But then the bottom fell out, and the pandemic hit, and all sorts of misery, loss, and chaos ensued. And as we know, we still face significant challenges. But I want to step back a minute to when I first became a professor, 26 years ago, exactly half my life ago, in 1995. I was 26 and I just finished my PhD. I want to highlight two labor market changes that have taken a particularly sharp turn in that time. They are related to labor force attachment, that is how long one stays in a job, and wage inequality. When I started as a professor in 1995, the typical student would wander into my office and fret about the pile of jobs that she'd been offered. The kinds of questions that were asked were, is it the right city? Are they paying enough? Is it a good industry? Is the work interesting? Is it the right company? But one thing was pretty clear. Like their parents at the time, those students expected to stay at the same company for a very long time. Now new students, new graduates, and labor market entrants seem to be more interested in how this job will help them in the next job. And few seem to have much expectation for staying in a job for very long. A few years ago, I was in an alumni event from my former university in Seattle, where I saw many of my former students. Among my former students, each of whom was 5 to 10 years out from their degree, I was struck that every single one had changed jobs. They just rearranged themselves. The Microsoft ones were at Amazon. The Amazon ones were at Starbucks. And the ones at Nordstrom moved on to Microsoft. But this is just one example. One important empirical fact is that in the past generation, there's been declining job seniority. That is, on average, the number of years a given employee has been in their job has been declining over time. There's also evidence that employers are more willing to let workers go when business is not good than they were in the past. In my own research, I remember doing interviews at a company around the year 2000 when they were went through their first layoff. The senior managers found it incredibly difficult and psychologically demanding. When I went back a year later to talk with them about a subsequent layoff, they seemed already hardened to it. It's the way of the world, they said. There used to be much longer and more stable jobs, and organizations looked harder for alternatives to layoffs. Today, there's a view among some that laying off workers actually increases stock price. This is, on average, not true. Some feel that making job changes in organizations is a fundamental way to keep organizations productive and even viable. There is a view among some that employees are an expendable commodity. Is this an irreversible change in business? Should it be? This has me wondering about you, our new labor market entrants. Will you be less willing to commit to an employer because you fear that the employer is less willing to commit to you? As you move into the management ranks, how expendable will be those people who report to you? Some of you have studied these workplace and societal dynamics here at Richmond. What classroom lessons will you translate into the workplace, practice, and social policy? The second stunning change in the labor market in the last couple of generations is the dramatic increase in wage inequality. In inflation-adjusted terms, wages at the bottom and middle of the income distribution in the United States have remained roughly stagnant for a generation. Even the 75th percentile of wages, that point where only 1/4 earn more and 3/4 earn less, has only increased modestly since 1980. Only at the very top have wages increased substantially. What do these labor market changes have to do with you? Importantly, you have an education from this remarkable university. Appreciate that. You are already better educated than most people in the world, and you are also smarter, better organized, and more motivated than most. You are leaders and are well positioned to work on these and other challenges as your careers unfold. It is also abundantly clear that having good social and professional connections matter. You have that with Richmond. In all likelihood, you will change jobs, maybe even often. But your spider home is constant. Please keep in touch with one another and with us. But please remember, along with your preparedness and privilege comes responsibility. Remember those with whom you work and others are not nearly as fortunate. Treat those who report to you at least as well as you treat those to whom you report. We are lucky to be here. I feel very lucky to be here. The University of Richmond is great and only getting better. Our students, staff, faculty are exceptional and continue to make important contributions to building a better world. Our student body is also amazingly accomplished and increasingly diverse. This is just part of what I love about being here. You represent broad interests, and you'll each go on to pursue a variety of careers and personal endeavors that fulfill you. This is a fantastic place at a fantastic time. You just earned an extraordinary education at an extraordinary university, and you most likely didn't get here on your own. So please be sure this weekend to thank those wonderful people who helped get you here and supported you while you were here and will continue to support you in one way or another going forward. Thank them in person if they're here. And if they're not, send them a text, an email, a phone call, a Skype, a Twitter, a Facebook, a Yammer, a Chatter, a Snapchat, a Chat Snap. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. But better yet, send them a handwritten letter. Thank them. Be grateful to them. I'm almost done, but I want to leave you with just a couple more things to remember. Be kind. Help others when you can and be kind to others. Be safe. Don't do things that are too risky. Too many people depend on you and will depend on you. Work hard and work steady. But please, don't work too hard. Stop and enjoy your family, loved ones, and life. Time is short, so enjoy it. There is so much more to life than occupational achievement. And be thankful. Thank those who got you here and helped you through. Congratulations, class of 2020. Thanks for your time. I'm glad you're part of the Spider community. I hope Richmond will be an important part of your lives for many, many years to come. Keep in touch. One of the pleasures of moving to Richmond was getting to know our former president, Ronald Crutcher, and his wife, Dr. Betty Neal Crutcher. They opened their arms. They opened their arms to welcome me and my wife, Tina, as we transitioned to Richmond. Now, I'm absolutely delighted to share via video recording a greeting from President Emeritus Ronald Crutcher.
Greetings, class of 2020. I deeply regret that I am unable to be with you in Richmond today, but I still wanted to take a moment to celebrate you and recognize what a privilege it has been to have you in our community of scholars. I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to the families and friends of our graduates, and to thank you for providing them with the support and guidance they needed to reach this milestone in their lives. I know you are just as excited as we are, and perhaps even more so, to celebrate the culmination of their many years of study. As a musician, I have thought of this trying time of the pandemic as a fermata, an unexpected pause before the music continues. I know just how disappointing it was to postpone commencement, and it took longer than we had hoped to reschedule it due to the monumental challenges of operating the university amid the pandemic. But today, I am delighted to hear the music resume. Indeed, I have never been more grateful for a commencement ceremony in which everyone can pause and rejoice in each other's company, live and in person. Class of 2020, thank you for demonstrating such grace and perseverance leading up to this milestone in your lives. As I have said before and will say again, your response to these challenging times reminds me of what the Latin writer Publius Syrus once wrote, quote, "Anyone can hold the helm when the sea is calm. The challenge is to hold your grip firm when the storm comes." Class of 2020, you unexpectedly found yourself on a tempest-tossed ship, navigating a world in which the rhythms of our lives were profoundly reshaped. Yet, from successfully completing an unexpected semester of remote learning to commencing your new lives amid unprecedented circumstances, you steered through the battering waves with a remarkable inner strength that is a hallmark of a Richmond education. You will always be a special class for us, known for your grit and ability to weather difficult circumstances, the exact type of people I want by my side when the storm comes. Class of 2020, thank you for showing us that even when our web is stretched wider than ever before, it will not break but expand. The university shares my great pride in your many accomplishments and remarkable resilience. We enthusiastically welcome your return to campus, where you will always have a home. And we look forward with great hope and anticipation to your continued accomplishments as you lead lives of purpose wherever you may find your purpose in the world. Thank you and congratulations.
Every year, the faculty nominate and select a graduate as the Mace Award winner. This award represents the highest honor a graduate of the University of Richmond can earn and is given to the university's most outstanding graduate. To be eligible, the student must have a clear record of exceptional scholarly achievement and demonstrated leadership throughout their years at the university. For 2020, the Mace Award winner is Daniel Thomas Mahoney. Daniel, please rise. The next academic awards represent the highest honors given within each academic school. For 2020, there are 3 recipients of the Clarence J. Gray Achievement Awards for Excellence in Scholarship and Leadership, 1 Charles T. Norman Award in the Robbins School of Business, and the James McGregor Burns Award in the Jepson School of Leadership Studies. May I please request the following students to rise and be recognized for winning these awards. Jake Dylan Schutzu and Elizabeth Naomi Mahea Ricart Guerrera, the C.J. Gray Award winners from the School of Arts and Sciences. Sarah Rose Pencack, the recipient of the C.J. Gray Award in the Robbins School of Business. Hannah Joy Lankler, the recipient of the Charles T. Norman Award. And Ileana Rose Fleischer, the James McGregor Burns Award winner from the Jepson School of Leadership Studies. Congratulations to you all. We are very proud to welcome Lena Torrey-Jan as Speaker of the Class of 2020.
Thank you, President Halleck, for that introduction. You forget to take your mask off sometimes. Friends, family, faculty, and the class of 2020, welcome. It is truly an honor to be standing here before you today. A lot has changed over the 18 months since we last gathered together, both in the world at large and each of our lives. In the face of these most unusual of circumstances, I find myself in the challenging position of offering words of reflection, unity, and celebration for a group who has already traveled out into the world and began a lifetime of leaving positive marks on whatever communities you enter. In preparation for this moment, over the past several weeks, I have reflected on our time here at U of R, on our time since we completed our course of study, and on who we are as a class. In doing so, I found myself realizing that for all the hours spent studying, all the assignments and grades, it was none of these that stood out. Rather, it was Professor Long's dad jokes, Dr. Flanagan's critical thinking class, Dr. Dada's commitment to peace and justice, and Dean Giannoni's comforting, close-smelling office, just to name a few, that rose to the surface of the memory pool of my mind. Most of all, however, it was you, my classmates, my friends, my U of R family, who have left an indelible mark. What defines the University of Richmond class of 2020? It is not that our time together was cut short by a tragic pandemic, nor is it our academic, athletic, or public achievements, as impressive and varied as these may be. It is that when life calls to see if we will rise to the occasion, we, the U of R class of 2020, answer the call. When life called out our names, we answered. When we needed to stand by each other, we came together. When we saw the need for change, we took strides towards that change. When we needed to celebrate each other and our diversity, we became attentive. When we were sparked by an idea, we engaged with it. When we saw the world hurt, we cried with it. When our community needed us, we served it. And when life needed us to be a friend, we were willing to lay down our lives for one another. While noble in word and vision, what does this look like in practice? The call of life may take many forms, from the call of duty to serve your community or your nation, to the call to devote oneself to the advancement of knowledge, the pursuit of profit, or the attainment of higher, faster, stronger. Over the 4 years together and the 18 months since, I have seen you answer the call. From shedding light on the dark corners of our school's history to increasing awareness of sexual harassment and assault on campus, to gathering for an equity summit in the face of racism and discrimination. But this defining future of our class was made most clear to me through my own experiences over the past month. As some of you are aware, the country I am from, Afghanistan, has been in a heartbreaking and hopeless situation. It appears that the veil of ignorance, hatred, and inequity is covering it with darkness in the name of religion, threatening the lives and livelihoods of women, children, and all those who find themselves trapped under the new regime. In the past month, my mother, newlywed sister-in-law, older sister, brother-in-law, and their 4 young children were caught in the turmoil of escaping Kabul. They were shot at, tear-gassed, trampled, and left with dislocated and broken bones. Nonetheless, they continued to pursue freedom and escape from the claws of oppression. While my siblings and I, who were fortunate enough to already have been abroad, worked around the clock to assist them, their making it to safety would not have been possible without hundreds of supporters around the world, including many of you. At this, the darkest and the most desperate of times, you answered the call. Some of you donated, some of you raised awareness of the situation, some of you offered words of encouragement, strength, and wisdom, and others of you served on the ground, offering helping hands, and if needed, to give your lives in service of helping my family find freedom. For this, I am forever grateful, but as touched as I was and am, I'm not surprised. Our class is not afraid to answer the call of life. When life says our names and puts us through a spiral of obstacles and the unexpected, we have the grit to answer it. We have the will to find a way. We have the love to help one another and our world. Policies can be poorly crafted with major consequences and require change. Nonetheless, we have those who want to and do engage in building change. Freedom is anything but free, and yet we're willing to pay the cost, as steep as it may be. Positive change takes concerted effort, focus, and time, but we have effort, focus, and time to give. If we can heed the call amid the cacophony of life to come together and enable a vulnerable family to escape terror, persecution, and systematic oppression on the other side of the world, there is little that we cannot accomplish when we are together. Despite this gravity, there are a few things that I hope we can remember as we again depart to new adventures. I hope that we can each appreciate and hold tight to the little joys in life, the breaths that we take, the giddy and the silly moments. Sometimes this is what gets us through the most difficult days and hardest tasks of life. While I hope and pray you achieve all your goals and are proud of your achievements, please know that through all that, there are obstacles that we may never have the answers to. But this, too, is part of beauty of life. For the way we brave through these challenges and wilderness enables us to become prepared and better in how we continue forward. I hope that we may each live a life of humanizing one another with empathy, courage, and love. But most of all, I hope that each of you will continue to answer life's call when it comes. And I look forward to seeing all of the incredible ways in which you continue to serve your communities, our world, and each other in the years and decades ahead. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. On a different but related note, I am pleased to share with you today, on behalf of the class of 2020, we're launching a new initiative to create a scholarship endowment to support UFR students who have been forcibly displaced from their homes as a result of insecurity and/or political or sectarian violence. For these students, education can be a ladder to a brighter future that enables a life with individual rights, economic empowerment, and self-sufficiency. This gift affirms our community's support for diversity and inclusion and the institution's mission of holistically developing students through academic rigor and collaboration. It also cements our class's unique legacy as a cohort whose education was disrupted by the pandemic and who is thoroughly dedicated to diversity, learning, and service. Funds can be made directly by you, my classmates, and by parents and community members on behalf of the graduating students. And the following link and the QR codes should be on the screen. We hope that you will join us in supporting this fund, and thank you for your generosity if you feel moved to raise funds to do so. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lena. It is now my pleasure to introduce our faculty speaker. Dr. Julian Hayter is an historian and associate professor in the Jepson School of Leadership Studies. His research focuses on modern U.S. history, African American history, and the American Civil Rights Movement. He's the author of the very interesting The Dream is Lost: Voting Rights and the Politics of Race in Richmond, Virginia. And his work has been published in the Journal of Policy History, The Washington Post, New American History, and various national publications. He also regularly contributes to national and local media outlets on important issues in society. Professor Hayter.
It's hot. I think I lost 15 pounds in the hallway. I'm really resisting the urge also to not to look up myself. The TV has like 15 pounds. Got my preacher's rag just in case. You know, I almost turned down y'all's offer to speak for two reasons today. The first is, what advice can I give you What advice can I give you all? Right? This may be a surprise for anybody that knows me, but I couldn't think of anything to say. COVID-19 hit at what would have otherwise been the highlight of your relatively young lives. The pandemic forced us, or many of us, back into our parents' homes, or you back into your parents' homes, put future careers on hold, destroyed plans, may have taken loved ones, and more broadly, obligated all of us to reckon with forces beyond our control. The second reason, which is my last point, was that my grandmother, who passed several days ago, was transitioning as you asked me to speak. I didn't know if I could muster up the resolve to do this. It's been devastating. She died on her 99th birthday, and she lived, by all accounts, a good life. I am speaking today in her honor because, whether you know it or not, you all have something in common with her. My grandmother came of age during another crisis, the Great Depression. And if any of you know anyone that lived through the Depression, right, they rarely let you forget what they had to endure, either verbally or simply by the way they lived their lives. That woman hoarded food like the destruction of the world was at hand. They knew scarcity. They also came to understand a type of collective vulnerability that many of us had forgotten. She spent the formative years of her life under severe restrictions that until now, most of us wouldn't have understood. Sometimes being a historian has its perks. It comes in handy, right? You folks are coming to terms with something that my grandmother and her generation and the generation thereafter knew very well. Something that experts often take years to understand, is that people have always struggled. They've also endured those struggles. It is an essential characteristic of who we are. Those of you that I've taught will have heard me say this before, right? There ain't no such thing as the good old days, right? Life is difficult. It has been and continues to be hard on people. But by and by, though, we find ways to make it less hard for the lucky of us. Perhaps that is why this pandemic was so devastating. It not only affected all of us to varying degrees, some worse than others for shockingly predictable reasons, it reminded us that we are not immune to struggle, that nature is sometimes indifferent to our plans. People have lived and died struggling against forces that are of little consequence to us. We are the benefactors of their commitment to solutions. It is your struggle that the future relies on, just like I relied on my grandmother to put my struggle into perspective. And thinking of now, don't forget the folks that have left us because of this pandemic, that continue to struggle to meet this challenge, those that couldn't be here today because of it, and all the folks that have risked something to bring you back into this space, right, so that you can celebrate what has been a marvelous accomplishment under unbelievably difficult circumstances. Some of our most beautiful things arise from the struggle between nature's indifference and humanity's resolve. Transform this moment into something that will not be forgotten. Don't let it pass in vain. Journey well.
Thank you, Julian. Today, I also have the distinct honor of introducing our 2020 commencement speaker, Timothy M. Hightower. Mr. Hightower graduated from the University of Richmond in 2008 and has had an exceptional career on and off the football field. After leading Spider football to the semifinals of the NCAA Division I playoffs during his senior year, Mr. Hightower went on to be a running back in the National Football League for 10 years. He was drafted in 2008 by the Arizona Cardinals, where he played in Super Bowl 43, and then became the only NFL athlete in history to return to play after missing 4 seasons due to injury. Instead of viewing it as the end of his career, his injury fueled him to fight even harder to return to the sport he loved. Off the field, Mr. Hightower's story of overcoming adversity and finding purpose has motivated organizations, athletic teams, and universities, and he's now the Director of Alumni Relations for the Washington football team and the founder of Hightower Enterprises, where he develops programs focused on health and wellness. His first book, A Dream Worth Fighting For, will be published next summer. Since graduation, Mr. Hightower has maintained ties to the university. He was inducted into the UR Sports Hall of Fame in 2012 and joined the University of Richmond Alumni Association Board in 2017. He lives in Richmond with his wife, Ricky, and their 4 young children. Please join me in welcoming our 2020 commencement speaker, Mr. Tim Hightower.
Wow, thank you. I don't have long with you, but I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for all of you. Thank you, President Howlett. Thank you, Dr. Ron and Betty Crutcher. I know you're watching somewhere for this tremendous opportunity. Thank you, Coach Jeff Hansen. Many of you don't know who that is, but he was the one coach who gave me the only scholarship that I had. Turned out it would be the only one I actually needed. Thank you, Lena, for your leadership. This world is truly in a better place with future leaders such as yourself and your classmates. Thank you to the 2020 Advisory Group for your heartfelt reflection and perspective. And thank you, class of 2020. You made it. You made it. Through the all-nighters, from our student athletes through the two-a-day workouts, the papers you forgot were due tomorrow, changing majors maybe once, okay, maybe twice. Despite many setbacks, obstacles, the many differences in how we all got here, today, we all share one thing in common. We are all graduates from the University of Richmond. Now, I know this day may bring mixed feelings for some of you. How do I make sense of my time here? Was my time here a success? Many of you thought, will I ever see my friends again? Professors, the city of Richmond. What can I do about the seasons unfinished? The conversations never had. Will I ever find closure? Some of you may have already begun jobs that have nothing to do with what you studied. Others made it 4 years and find yourself wondering if you studied the wrong thing. Amid uncertainty, I want to challenge you with an idea today. That what is before you and what was behind you is a small thing compared to what's within you. Over the next few weeks and months, many will challenge you to have foresight, to be optimistic, to look ahead, to see a bright future. Others will encourage you to have hindsight, to be thankful for your time here, the friends, the family. Today, I want to talk to you about insight and the power of insight. See, in 2017, my career ended abruptly in San Francisco for the second time. I had just fought my way back to the NFL after almost 4 years away, battling 5 surgeries, traveling all over this country, making hundreds of doctor's visits. And not one NFL coach or person told me I would make it back. I had done my part, I thought. I'd worked hard, I persevered. I did everything that I thought that I knew to do. I had finally had a chance to play for my childhood favorite team in the 49ers. I don't know if there's any 49ers fans out here. Okay, a few. Now, earlier that summer, I had a chance to sign back with the Saints, the New Orleans Saints. Any Who Dat fans? Okay, okay. Which, like the University of Richmond, was the only place that wanted me. They're the only team that gave me a chance. Now, while my gut told me to stay in New Orleans, my pride and the desire for closure took me to San Francisco. See, in 2011, I had sustained a devastating knee injury while playing for the Washington football team, then known as the Redskins. I was having the best season of my career in front of my hometown friends, family, and then it ended in a flash. I struggled to make sense of what happened. Why me? Why now? What could I have done different? I blamed myself. I blamed others. I blamed God. Why did he bring me all the way to this point for it to end like this? I spent months trying to find answers. I delayed surgery. I did everything I could to avoid the pain that I was feeling. I needed to make sense of it all. I felt that if I just knew the reason, I could make sure it never happened again. I would soon find out I can't heal what I don't face. So here I was again, as I'm sitting in front of the coach's office and he's telling me I'm fired. I'm now unemployed. Embarrassed, frustrated, without answers. I come home. My wife had great intentions. She had bought a 49ers jersey for my son. And she had a great plan of putting it on him, and it was going to be a surprise. They were going to celebrate as I came home. The tough part is, the only bad thing is I didn't actually make the team. So I come home and I see my son in this 49ers jersey, and I broke down. I dropped to my knees. I felt like a failure. Like I let my family, my friends down. Then I thought back to the vow that I made a few years earlier, that I would not avoid pain, that I would face it, I would look inward, and I would move forward. I looked at that jersey and I looked at my son, and I said, this jersey will not represent failure or an unfinished dream. It would represent determination, purpose, wisdom, vulnerability, the prayers and the support of friends and family, and the price one must pay to pursue their dreams. Just as I did when I was a young kid, I took out a pen and a paper and I started to write. I made a vow that I would turn my pain into purpose. That I would only make decisions after careful introspection rather than desperation. That the NFL would not be a ceiling, it would only be a platform. I achieved what had never been done and made it back to the NFL after 4 years due to injury. Yet after all I accomplished, I still struggle to find what many of you are looking for, closure. To make sense of my career, would I be defined by overcoming obstacles or by the way it ended? The touchdowns never scored. The Super Bowl I almost won. The contract I almost had. What I found out was closure did not come from my last touchdown or that one last contract. It came from a decision, from a resolve, from a vision. Many of you may be sitting here today thinking, well, how do I make sense of my life, my experiences, my time here at this university? Tim, how do I gain that insight that you're talking about? I'm glad you asked. I want to leave you with 3 things today. I want you to write the vision. I want you to protect the vision. And I want you to perfect the vision. Number one, write the vision. Let's keep it simple, all right? Vision is your why. It's your why. One of my favorite quotes that I live by to this day, he or she who has a why can endure anyhow. I'll say it again, he or she who has a why can endure anyhow. See, the what's gonna change. I can assure you that. The where is gonna change. The who may even change. But your why is what's embedded deep within you. It was within you before you got here, and it will be within you when you leave here. See, before Simon Sinek, which many of you know about, Start With Why, before he wrote a book about that, it was my mother who asked me a question that changed the course of my life. She said, son, why? Why are you doing what you're doing? I was 16 years old. I said, Mom, I have no clue. I'm still trying to figure out how to get girls to like me. I'm still trying to figure out how long will I keep these braces on. I don't know why. You have asked in school, each other, in society, why? You have disrupted industries and challenged the norm. Your why may be different from your parents, from your friends and family members, from society, from what society tells you you should be. Everyone won't understand or agree with your why. See, when I first got to Richmond, I had a why. I had a plan. But as one of my favorite boxers once said, Mike Tyson, everyone has a plan until they get hit in the mouth. I would find that to be true very quickly. I put signs in my locker my teammates mocked. I set academic goals of law school. I even had a professor told me I was ill-equipped. To ask and find out why, you must ask yourself the hard questions. Class of 2020, I challenge you to ask yourself why. Why you do what you do every single day. Number two, protect the vision. Be careful who you listen to. Know the difference between an opinion and an observation. See, everybody in this generation has an opinion about what you should do, about where you should go, about what you can accomplish. But there are few who have an observation. See, an observation takes time. I must spend time with you. I must get to know you. There will be some in your life who will observe. They'll know your purpose. They'll know your calling on life. Listen to those. I found out during my time that one person for you is better than the world against you. Number three, protect the vision. I had to learn how to study success. Now, I know you all are students, you're scholars, you've studied academically, but I want you to study success. Who are those people who you admire, who you look up to? Is there anybody who challenges you, who causes you to become something greater? Study those people. I was once taught at a young age that success leaves clues. Be a student. While I was at Richmond, as I was growing up, I studied all the great running backs to try to emulate their moves. What were their workouts? I even took ballet here. True story, I took ballet. You can look it up. Because I found out one of my favorite running backs took ballet. I studied those who I wanted to become. I want you to understand and embrace the idea that maybe I just may not be good enough yet. See, many people ask me, how did you get to the University of Richmond after accomplishing all these things? They look at the after, and they don't understand where it started. And you know what? For a time, I bought into that. They missed it. The NFL missed it. The college coaches missed it. But maybe I just wasn't good enough yet. The University of Richmond gave me that time to develop, to grow, to refine my skills, to deepen my why, to build friendships that I would need, a support system that I would need. In order to perfect your vision, it's going to take time. Give yourself time. And the last thing, don't let it beat you twice. See, in football, we had something that, we had a 24-hour rule. Win or loss, you had to move forward. And if I was still thinking about the last game, I lost again because I was still looking back. Keep going. In the midst of pain, keep going. Keep going. Persevere. Class of 2020, I congratulate you on a job well done. I encourage you to celebrate this day with your friends and your family. Thank you to all the faculty, the staff, the parents, the family for supporting these students. I know it takes a village. And I challenge you, when you notice yourself drifting in life, at your job, in your families, you're uncertain about what's next, what's to come. Remember, be careful who you listen to. Remember to give yourself time to grow and always come back to your why. I'll leave you with a quick story. As I sat there in that car in New Orleans in 2015, I had finally made it back after being out of the NFL. And I sat there in June of 2015. This was during hurricane season, if anybody knows what hurricane season is like down in New Orleans. I sat there in my car. It rocked back and forth. It rocked back and forth. Tim, why were you in your car? Because I didn't have a home at the time. Here I had fought and I lost everything to get back to the NFL. And I sat, an NFL athlete, sleeping in my car. I have not shared this publicly. And I asked myself, how did I get here? Was this the price to pay for accomplishing and achieving my dream? I lost everything I thought. But it was at this moment. It was at this moment that I realized that everything that I needed was on the inside of me. The highs, the lows, everywhere in between. What never left was my why. Class of 2020, know your why, carry your why, and go out and do great things. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. I'd now like to invite Provost Jeff LeGros to please come forward.
I am now pleased to present the members of the class of 2020 who have completed the requirements of the faculty and fulfilled the expectations of the university. Will the graduates please rise? President Halleck, the graduates from the School of Arts and Sciences, the E. Claiborne Robbins School of Business, and the Jepson School of Leadership Studies are before you.
By the virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby affirm conferral upon you the degree of the University of Richmond for which you have been certified with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto. Congratulations. Please be seated. We will now recognize the graduates.
Christopher Dane Young. Maria de Los Angeles Acosta. Justin Harris. William George Alpo. Christine May Fernandez and Cajas. Ian Michael Anderson. Isabel Rose Andelina. Emma Nicole Anitzberger. Alexis Aaron Angelos. Sophia Ruth Arst. Deonte Kelvin Austin. Dwar Bai. Nimisha Bangalore. Sophia Isadora Barnes Horowitz. Kira Natalia Bartnick. Brooke Summer Beam. Lena Tori John. Daniel Thomas Mahoney. Haley Nicole Berkeley. Madeline Margaret Berlinghoff. Sela Lynn Betts. Rachel Elizabeth Black. Walker Patrick Black. Carly Q. Blessing. Logan Andrea Bonning. Nicholas James Bolger. Aidan Douglas Bond. Catherine Connolly Bond. Caitlin Ashton Bonner. Richard Cameron Bonso. Eric William Bossert. Samuel Robert Bottom. Gabrielle Alexis Bowen. John Aloysius Brady. Jennifer Harris Brennan. Gabrielle Page Briganti. Bella Brown. Sophia Zenza Bruce. Catherine Kale Brumman. Elizabeth Bush. Sophia Isabel Bustamante Igegere. M. Graham Butler. Francie Elizabeth Cabrera Paz. Nia Siobhan Cambridge. Devin Christopher Campbell. Hannah Elise Campbell. Harris Arthur Cannon. Brian Christopher Carapucci. Morgan Elizabeth Karen. Emily Ann Carrick. Alexandra Marie Carroll. Margaret Elizabeth Carroll. Mira Alexandra Carroll. Christopher Casella. Daisy Wing Yi. Irene Christine Chang. Madeline Arlene Chow. Mariah Giselle Charlton. Sydney Nicole Charlton. Jack Edward Chachio. Kelly Irene Chinque. Ava Rose Clark. Zachary Douglas Clark. George Oliver Clayson. Sarah Catherine Clayton. John Lawrence Cleary III. Jackson Clement. Miles Andrew Kleichman. Finley Thomas Cobb. Olivia Marie Coffey. Olivia Noel Cotter. Robert Buchanan Croxon. Edward Thomas Curry. Alec Sean Daniel. Jordan Ellis Daniel. Amanda Elizabeth Da Silva. Caitlin Ann Da Silva. Reuben Irvin Lee Davis. Victoria Davis. Stacy Marie Deck. Nicholas Andrew Demuria. Sophia Maria Arce. Shin Yu Dung. Alana Moore Dixon. Megan Noel Dillon. Nathan Noklom Din. Hillary Jamnan Fokwa. Jack Henry Drake. Amy Nicole Duggan. Isaiah Daniel Duplessis. Martin Joseph Durkin Jr. Andre Morin Eames. Juliana Spinola Eastman. Erica Taylor Echternock. Michael Elliott. Stephanie Hannah Elmale. Lindsay Elizabeth Emery. Emily Nicole Erblin. Maxime Ohiowe Ermoshkit. Madison Ann Sheen Ernstus. Logan Grace Etheridge. William Chancellor Evans. Emily Jane Everett. Dana Lauren Falcon. Grace Elizabeth Faulkner. Alexa Grace Posulo. Caroline Margaret Felix. Catherine Elizabeth Fell. Jasmine Wen Feng. Emily Laura Ferkler. Matthew Emmanuel Fernandez. Rosemary Teresa Ferraro. Madeline Hope Finnan. Elena Rose Fleischer. Catherine Elizabeth Flint. Sean Patrick Foley. Olivia Wolf Folger. John Ignacio Frenchie. Matthew Stephen Franklin. Alexandra Eugenie Friedman. Taylor Alexa Frost. Leslie V. Gaines. Valerie Rose Galati. Catherine Sarah Gallagher. Aaron James Litchford Gunno. Sydney Brianna Gardner. Luke Phaeton Garrison. Campbell Ann Gulbin. Meredith Josephine Gallo. Alexandra Taylor Geiger. Emily Mitchell George. Riley Ray Garretts. Shauna Mariah Manning Gerlach. Michael John Giamalis. Megan Lily Gianforte. Francis Isabel Gishner. Lyndall Catherine Giffany. Christopher Layton Gilbert. Alexa Elizabeth Gilbert. Bailey Gillespie. Rachel Carmison Blacken. Elizabeth Nora Godshall. And Rihanna Emma Charming Goodhall. Hannah Lee Gouger. Colin James Green. Claire Griffiths. Brendan Joseph Griswold. Melissa Dawn Gu. Carissa Gergel. Lauren Karis Guzman. Nathaniel Holsell Haas. John Kenneth Haynes. Everett Reese Harper. Zachary David Harrell. Paige Elizabeth Harty. Mallory Leisha Haskins. Emma Eastman Henderson. Lorea Gabriela Hernandez. Sonia Jasmine Hernandez. Jocelyn Ruth Greshek. Cassidy Nicole Hilton. Bilal Hindi. Jade Akel Hines Clark. Alexander Gifford Hino. Carrie Jill Parker. Denon Michael Hornig. Claire Sophia Hogan. Alyssa Roberts Holt. Matthew Bartlett Hollis. Conan Rice Hauser. Prudence Hu. James Henry Holbert. Bradley Lewis Hull. Micah John Hunter Chang. James Cassidy Hutchinson. Lauren Elizabeth Ilsley. Anthony Wayne Eisenhower. Hayden Louise Ivy. Matthew Jonathan Izzo. Samantha Michelle Yeager. Ryan Anderson Jennings. Emma Mary Joaquin. Nicholas Alexander Jangro. Katrina Kieran John. Brandon R. Johnson. Matthew Eldon Johnson. Kristen Patrice Justima. Paige Jordan. Stephen Robert Kapastas. Kevin Robert Kennedy. Robert Malcolm Kent. Michelle Davy Plutt. Peyton Amanda Keel. Jenna Myers King. Alexander Keegan Kirk. Justin Daniel Plechka. Rachel Beverly Kleiman. Paul Anthony Kneppel. Alexandra Diane Connert. Dennis Coral. Cami Kosharo. Daniel Matthew Kunith. Tanapan Magic Kaptana. Elizabeth Jane Andre. Hannah Joy Lankler. Michael William Lapazata. Olivia Ann Lavin. Declan Cullen Lawson. Nicola Dawn Leak. Emma Lebens. Kirsten Ashley Lee. Hannah Genevieve Lewis. Mayor Ardith Lindlof. Daniel Stephen Little. Brooke Ashlyn Chang Loomis. Hannah Marie Luce. Jessica Nicole Luce. Abigail Montgomery Lord. George Dare Lovett. Jeffrey Andrew Lowe. Alexis Mackenzie Lozo. Allison Marie Ludwig. Holly Elizabeth Lundeen. Grace Yang Juan Lynch. Catherine Keel Lynch. Abigail Lynn Lyons. Sophia Rose Madsen. Mercini Mano Georgila. Adrian Duncan Matthews. Matthew Anthony Monella. Eliza Catherine Manning. Liam Doyle McKay. Sabrina Marie McCarra. Kate Alicia McCarthy. Caroline Mildred McCartney. Xavier McCormick. R. Austin Marsilia. James Thomas McGuire IV. Chloe Grace McKinney. Peyton K. McGovern. Nathaniel Thomas McMahon. Sheldon Parker McMeans. Samuel Spencer McPeak. Claire Elaine Mendelson. Gibran Merchant. Sarah Jean Messerby. Catherine Karen Meyer. Sarah Jane Milano. David Francis Miller. Megan Elizabeth Miller Brown. Aaron Colleen Mink. Dylan Mizuni. Tess Elizabeth Monks. Rachel Ann Morris. Jeremiah Daniel Morton. Jack Francis Mullen. Justin Muir. Griffin Marie Myers. Megan Nicole Mitchell. Kelly Marie Monahan. Elizabeth Noemi Mejia Rickard Guerra. Tracy Rose Nashek. Emma Freeman Nash. Jonathan Robert Natarajan. Margot Michelle Naciello. Maria Fernanda Navarro Castillo. Hassan Naveed. Henry Todd Neal. Kirsten Jensen Ness. Jane Tilly Newhoff. Grace Christina Nidlow. Claire Elizabeth Knoppenberger. Kelsey Ann Norris. Andrew Richard Nummy. Lauren Haviland O'Brien. Allison Mary O'Hara. Michael Alexander Opstelton. Madison Page Ostrick. Jonathan Anthony Ullman. Jacob Thomas Norton. Colin Francis O'Donnell. Robert Benjamin Joel Ostro. Helen Danis Owen. Leah Owens. Abigail Virginia Owsley. Haley Elizabeth Faith. Anisha Uttam Patel. Amy Y. Patel. Alexandra Dean Patnott. Lindsay Sabrina Fall. Michael Brandon Fall. Aria Pajwak. Sarah Rose Penzak. Kevin Antonio Perez Alvarez. Carlos J. Perez Mandry. Laura Guadalupe Perez Rondon. Zachary Kai Perkins. Akar Pyo. Michael Avedis Pittman. Cullen Michael Pullman. Catherine Pokorny. William Lewis Ponce. Cassidy Gray Poole. Claire Victoria Powell. Luke Sterling Powers. Destiny Tyranny Pryor. Jackson David Puckey. Jacob David Queller. Michelle Ann Quinlisk. Sarah Catherine Regan. Daniel J. Quinn. Hina Raghuwanshi. Megan Ann Quinn. Dylan Alexis Raymer. Ella Miriam Reed. Leah Jane Riceley. Timothy James Richter. Catherine Ventry Rivenus. Alexandra J. Roberts. Richard Miller Roebuck Jr. Mariana Kalika Rosado. Christoph Dalu Rosario. Michaela R. Rosen. Emily Routman. Oliver Anthony Rosario. Alexis Russell. Julia Connor Sackett. Kirsten Ann Soleil. Anna Miriam Salatan Alvarez. Charlotte Emily Sands. Alice C. Santos. Lauren Marie Sheffy. Caroline Elizabeth Schiavo. Lo William Schipper. Julia Lee Schmuckler. Jennifer Jean Schneider. Emily Quinn Schott. Sarah Rose Schuam. Catherine Ann Schulte. Jason Andrew Schwartz. Julia Rose Schwartz. Michelle Elise Sclafani. Julian E. Scott. Alexander Seeley. Maria Theresia Seitz. Alexandra Catherine Sarek. Emery Jillian Serino. Jennifer Ellen Shang. Lily Jacqueline Shannon. Jack Andrew Shapiro. Yewan Sun. Sarah Shen. Zihong Shen. Anna Hegyon Schemmel. Nicholas Michael Sika. Charles Anderson Simmons. Nicholas Omar St. Jim. Caitlin Elizabeth Stewart. Carrie James Steer Jr. Laura Catalina Suarez Ferrero. Christiana Nicole Summers. Valerie Marie Shalanchi. Natalie Cotlier Sommel. Eljoy E. Tanos. Austin Terasevich. Claire Power Tate. Mary Louise Taylor. Sarah Elizabeth Taylor. Caroline Ann Thomas. Montgomery Edward Thornburg. Madeline Patricia Tolsdorf. Morgan Drechel Tao. Morgan Lee Treya. Cameron Ariana Travis. Taryn James Tropia. Andrew Lee Sancheos. Marine Usman. Catherine Marie Vates. Thomas Joseph Villani. Stella Evangeline von Spreckelsen. Atul Vyas. Salnika Govani Wairegi. Nicole Walker. Lanqin Wang. Grace Elizabeth Ward. Avery Grace Wasson. Carson S. Watlington. John Knapp Watts. Lauren Julia Weingarten. Benjamin Seth Weinstein. Sydney Eliza Weiskopf. Allison Grace Wells. Anna Lee White. Jennifer Lynn Wicks. Elise Olivia Wilson. Savannah Fallon Wilson. Aaron Morse Winkler. Megan Brooke Wyora. Mary Reagan Wiseman. Olivia Indra Whitmer. Yahweh Wu. Michael Maloney Wyatt. Maxine Shin. Yi Chu Xue. Charity Ayukunme Yiodu. Yafan Zhang. Caroline Amy Zirkle. Minxin Zhang. Peijin Zhang. Ruoqian Zhang. Rumo Zhang. Honglin Zhou. Akil Zakaria. Mason Zadan. Desislava Jakova Zlativa. Elise Michelle Zwickelbauer.
Congratulations to each of you and to those who are celebrating with us remotely. David Lyons is the class of 1987 and is representing the University of Richmond Alumni Association. David is Managing Director, Chief Operating Officer, and Chief Compliance Officer at Lowe Brokenbrough and is a tireless volunteer for the university. David will now welcome the class of 2020 as alumni. David?
Thank you, Dr. Halleck, and welcome to you and Tina to the Richmond community. We're so happy to have you here. Dr. Hayter, Tim, those were inspiring comments. Really enjoyed hearing those. Thank you for sharing those with the class of 2020. It is a pleasure and a privilege to officially welcome you to the University of Richmond Alumni Association. By virtue of your graduation, you have earned membership into the University of Richmond Alumni Association, a remarkable web of more than 50,000 spiders around the world. From our most recent graduates to those who've celebrated their 50th reunion and beyond, all spiders have a role to play in the university's present and future success. We hope that you'll continue to be active and engaged members, gathering with fellow alumni in whatever city or state or country that you find yourself today or decades from now. As you already know, the Richmond experience is not limited to your years on this beautiful campus. It's a shared experience that shapes all of us in profound ways, that animates and informs much of what we do throughout our lives, and that makes us part of an extended family that spans generations. I've certainly found this to be true for me personally, and for that, I deeply treasure my close affiliation with the university. I'm incredibly proud to have you as among the newest ambassadors and stewards for the Spider family. And I now invite the class of 2020 to rise. Now, while your change in status was official last year, we wouldn't want you to miss this symbolic gesture. So please go ahead and move your tassel from the right side of your mortarboard to the left. Congratulations, and again, we're delighted to have you as part of the University of Richmond Alumni Association. We look forward to seeing you at events, both virtual and in person, and hope that you'll continue to engage with our Spider community in a way that will bring you the most pride and pleasure. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our 190th commencement exercises of the University of Richmond. Will the Mace Bearer resume his position? Please stand and remain at your places as the platform party, the faculty, and the students recess.